afternoon, friends. Stephen Benoon here with Israeli News Live. Today is July the 14th, 2025, and the situation in Syria is taking a very dire turn for the worse. The sad thing is, it's starting to look more like Gaza in Syria. And of course, that's only after the backing of the very terrorist that Trump decided to back and make him a president of Syria, the very man that was wanted, Abu Muhammad al-Jalani. Give him a new name, brush him all up, take him off the sanctions list, most wanted list, most terrorist list, whatever you want to do, and paint him up, make him look a lot better, shake hands with Trump, and now the guy becomes a statesman. Well, they're murdering Christians, Druze, and Alawites over in Syria right now. And that's kind of an odd situation, too. That's right after Israel allowed Druze to go visit in Syria to be able to go see their family members. Of course, Israel's acting like, oh, what are you doing? Are you going to kill our Druze family members? We'll have to do something about this. Yeah, right. Sure, you will. You sent them there to be killed. That's exactly what you want. Okay, so the situation, like I said, it's no different. It's just the same thing that's happening over in Gaza is what's happening in Syria, and it's happening all over again. We're going to be covering these things, including the blowing up of the water truck there where little children were trying to get water today. Israelis decided to blow that up. Oh, they admit their error. Gosh, one out of how many tens of thousands of bombs you've dropped on Gaza, you finally decide to admit an error? That's kind of weird how that happens, isn't it? And of course, you keep on shooting at everybody trying to get food there. No wonder why the people are terrified to do anything, because you use live ammunition. And if you're not doing it, of course, you're using your little paid mercenaries, the little prisoners that were got out of the prison there that you send back in there, arm them to the teeth there to kill the people anyway, or to target those people trying to get food. Yeah, it's pretty crazy over there. And we're going to get into also the fact that Dmitry Tenin is claiming that World War III has already begun. That was on RT News. Going to get into a lot of those and other stories there. Before I get into that, though, let me share with you, Mike Adams has done another interview on uncovering the truth about Carrie Madej and her very deceitful ways that she's doing. And I know some people, as you listen to this, and I've seen it in the comments as well, why can't you just forgive and forget? Let it go. Why do you hold on to this? Shouldn't there be some forgiveness in there somewhere? Well, you got to start off first with confessing of what you did, and especially when you did something that's intentional. But I would have a hard time. I mean, really, let me kind of set the stage a little different, okay? My wife got this treatment too and nearly died from it. Nearly died from it. If my wife would have died, would you just expect me? Oh gosh, it's just Carrie. She didn't mean to hurt anybody. After all, she's doing prayer meetings now online. And in that prayer meeting, she's flat out lying to your face again. But the odd thing is, Carrie doesn't know that the evidence is still there that's going to confront her once again. And the thing is the bravery of Dr. Mahaaffey and Liz Thompson, pharmacist, Dr. Liz Thompson, who's a pharmacist, the bravery that these ladies had to come out and share their opinions and their views with Mike Adams about what's going on in this case is a godsend for us. I've watched my family through a deterioration of 3 years as they have suffered unbelievably in ways that you can't even imagine because there is no justice whatsoever. It's one thing if you're dealing with a medical malpractice, like in the case of the state of Florida, where my wife and our son Ethan were there. They were battling on the front lines there with the many other victims that have done this for years to try to overturn the free kill law for medical malpractice. That's where a doctor causes harm to a patient, but he didn't really intend to. It just happened as a result of negligence. Just wasn't paying attention. That's completely different. This case has been ruled by two pathologists, two of the most renowned pathologists in the United States, as a medical homicide. All three doctors have been implicated in that record, and both pathologists are in agreement with that. So I encourage you to watch that. I think you'll find it very, very fascinating. One other quick thing here I want to share with you too over on our Patreon channel, patreon.com/Israeli News Live. Why the Vatican has a telescope on Mount Graham? Well, I did a lot of digging and a lot of research because something came to me in the middle of the night. Can't say that it's right, it's still speculative, but I've always heard that the Vatican knows exactly where Planet X is. This mysterious planet that some say it doesn't exist, some say that it does. I always heard that it was in the ether. Even Mike from around the world that we hear of so often, who has his own channel, his own platform there, um, made the statement that it is. So I began to do some digging on that subject to see what kind of technology does the Vatican really have and how did they come about such amazing technology. Some of the most renowned scientists in the world are Jesuits, and the technology that they have developed is mind-bending. No wonder why they decided where the Hopi Indians and many of the other Native Americans have held as the most sacred place in the world, Mount Graham, they controversially were able to take over this area, which is considered to be a portal, and build the Lucifer telescope. I think you'll find this interesting, going quite in depth with this. So check it out, patreon.com/Israeli News Live. It's on early release right now. To be available for all paid patrons come tomorrow. Hope you like that. Let's get back to the news, though, and got some other things at the end of the broadcast I want to share with you as well. Going into what is going on right there, I did digging both in Arabic and in the Russian language, mainly because you're not going to find, especially seeing as Donald Trump's out there shaking hands with this terrorist right here that's been on the terrorist list, only going back to the Iraqis and the evils that this man did in their country as well. But Trump formally orders lifting of Syria sanctions. U.S. Treasury says it removed 518 Syrian individuals and entities from its list of sanctions after president's decree. Ahmed al-Shara, the famous, infamous, on the most wanted list of the FBI at one time, who clearly worked with Al Qaeda in Iraq back in 2014, 2012, 2014. Or excuse me, 2012. He was the leader of the Al Nusra Front and the People of the Levant, Syrian-based group listed in May 2014, previously listed as the alias Al Qaeda in Iraq. Between May 30th of 2013 and May 13th of 2014, associated with the Ayman Mohammed Rabi al-Zawahiri group, wanted for the Iraqi security forces, photo available for inclusion in the Interpol of the UN Security Council special notice. All these things this man was wanted for. Now his been made the interim president of Syria while President Bashar al-Assad has been thrown out, falsely accused of using sarin gas on his own people, something that 7 years ago in the video, and I did it in multiple videos, but like this one here, sarin gas attack in Syria, where I prove unequivocally through Aaron Erdem, who is the former MP member of the Turkish parliament, until he accused President Erdogan of being orchestrated with the CIA and some of the Libya bandits there for smuggling sarin gas out of the country there with the help of Hillary Clinton at the time. Brought it into Syria, give it to ISIS militants, and it was taken into the country to be used against the civilian population so they'd have a large child death toll. That's kind of interesting how you get that. A large child death toll so they could blame it and pin it on President Bashar al-Assad. So in this video here, which I'll include in the links for you to be able to look at 7 years ago, we were taking that information we found that Aaron Erdem was putting before the parliament, and we publicized that very, very widely. Aaron Erdem was removed from being a parliament member at the time. Of course, I think Aaron, if I'm not mistaken, is Kurdish, so they hated him all the more. but he still remains a very active force inside of Turkey. God bless this man for his honesty, his courageousness, and what he has done there. Not only do we have that, though, but we also have Sarah Adams. Sarah Adams, who has just brought up, this is really what caused me to come to this, and is from Charles Hodge that shared this information with me, because the U.S. has legitimized Syria's terrorist government. They won't stop until every minority has fled, been killed, or forced to convert. Their goal is Islamic Caliphate. Anyone claiming otherwise is lying. Sarah Adams, she is a former CIA operative working in Libya. She has firsthand knowledge of, and forgive me if that is incorrect, but from what I can see on her site there, that's what she did there. She wrote the book Benghazi. She said, she's quoting here, Syrian activists, over 100 civilians, mostly Alawite, Shia, and Druze, were killed in the last 48 hours in Syria. That was on July the 12th that came out. With that being stated there, I began to look into this situation, and it's exactly what we're seeing. Besides this article here, Druze deaths and Israeli alert, Shafiq News narrates the full story of the events in Shanya in Syria. They went down to southern Syria there. Syrian authorities announced on Wednesday evening the end of the security operation in Ashraf Shaya area and the deployment of security forces in the area neighborhoods to ensure the return of security and stability. Oh, security and stability after you go out and decide to kill everybody. Is that the excuse? Well, it only gets worse. You have in this Twitter post here, Islamist forces reportedly have official orders to kill anyone they consider an infidel on sight. Christians, Druze, Yazdis, and even Alawite Muslims. There you go. And so that's what they're doing. Terrorizing over 100 people, probably far more than that they've killed already. And this is after the Israelis had sent the Druze people into Syria to go on a visit. And then oddly enough, suddenly this happens, right? Knowing what Israel knew exactly what they were doing. Calling for the now anti-Christian horror is happening in Syria. This came out just 4 days ago, July 10th, 2025, in a Russian report. Horrors are happening in Syria. Terrorists are calling for the killing of even babies and blowing up churches. You notice the same mentality that Netanyahu and many of these leaders of the Jewish religions over there in Israel, and I dare to say all of them because we know that they're all not like that, but definitely those like Ben-Gvir, Smotrich, the corrupted far-right government of Netanyahu that are calling for killing of even babies and blowing up churches. They do the exact same thing, but the only thing is Israel's doing it in Gaza, and they're allowing you just might as well call them terrorists. That's what they are. They call them settlers. No, they're terrorists that have invaded the West Bank to murder the people that are living there. You know, I think it's beautifully put today by, let me just find it for you real quick. Speaking of Gaza, Francesca Albanese said it beautifully. She really, as the title said, shut down an arrogant journalist for asking a stupid question. We'll listen to a short clip of this as well.
In Montreal, you expressed some shock at Quebec opening up a trade office in Tel Aviv. Raised a few eyebrows because Tel Aviv isn't among the many disputed land in Israel. Do you believe that Israel has a right to exist?
Israel does exist. Israel is a recognized member of the United Nations. Besides this, there is not such a thing in international law like a right of a state to exist. Does Italy has a right to exist? Italy exists. Now, if tomorrow Italy and France want to merge and become Ita-France, fine. This is not up to us. What is enshrined in international law is the right of a people to exist. So the state is there, the state of Israel is there, is protected as a member of the United Nations. Does this justify the erasure of another people? Hell no. Not 75 years ago, not 57 years ago, surely not today. Where is the protection of the Palestinian people from erasure, from annexation, from illegal occupation and apartheid? This is what we need to discuss.
God bless her heart. Bravery beyond belief. Much better than most world leaders of today, including here in the United States and elsewhere, I might add. Now, with those things being said, let me further continue on here. This was one of Gaza's few remaining trucks to deliver drinking water to the population. Israel bombed it surgically, directly, and deliberately, and an entire IDF chain of command thought a good idea to bomb the water truck to kill children by thirst and disease. Well, they didn't just kill them by thirst and disease in this case here. According to the report that we get from BBC, Gaza officials say children killed in strike as Israeli military admits error. 10 people, including 6 children, have been killed in an airstrike while waiting to fill water containers in central Gaza on Sunday, emergency service officials say. Their bodies were sent to Nusrat al-Wadi Hospital, which also treated 16 injured people, including 7 children, a doctor there said. Now, when we say hospital, it's not much left of a hospital in the first place. I don't think there's hardly anything left hospitals in Gaza. I mean, all you have to do is take images like this right here, right? Gaza then, and it looks like a beautiful place in certain parts there, especially where people have a little bit more money and can afford nice homes and stuff. And then Gaza now. Same picture, only blown to smithereens and uninhabitable. As you saw with our interview with Mutassim the other day, which can barely get any kind of a signal to even be able to begin to share with you what's happening, which, by the way, in that interview, Mutassim did say that they're going to systematically try to force all Palestinians out of Gaza into a concentration camp in Egypt run by Israelis, not Egyptians. And they're clearing out a nearby city to be able to carry these things out. It sounds like a funny thing like that is happening here in the United States. Biden, and I can't help but wonder if this has not been a setup in America, right? Biden for 4 years lets in droves and droves and droves of illegal aliens to come into the country, which give Donald Trump this amazing new idea. Let's take ICE police force, make them into a militarized machine, but instead of going after, wait a minute, he alleges he's going after all these so-called terrorists that were let into the Biden administration, but instead we keep seeing these videos pop up of mothers that are going to pick up their children from school. We see this one guy, he had actually was working on getting a green card for his wife. He had married her. He was a veteran of the armed forces. They forcibly drag her off and put her in a detention camp. All these horrible images that are going on. And then they wonder why the people are protesting. Well, you're carrying out the same acts that Israel is doing in Gaza, or otherwise this crazy wild nutcase that Trump is shaking hands with here and giving the guy a good old pat on the back, the guy that was once the most wanted terrorist, and now suddenly he becomes the man of the hour and can meet with the President of the United States. What is it? They just only put the terrorist into power? I mean, look at Ben-Gvir, look at Smotrich and their track records. And some of their imprisonments, different politicians that were imprisoned that now are in the Knesset, running the Knesset. I call it the Khazarian Knesset. They both have K's. Might as well be, right? It's really sickening, and I'm hoping I'm not leaving anything out as I'm going along here, trying to make sure we got everything as I go. So let me just double check here. We got the BBC. We got the tanker being blown up. Oh, yes. And of course, Palestinians. Sarah Wilkinson, God bless her. Circulating footage shows the Israelis opening machine gun on hundreds of starving Palestinian people, desperate, waiting aid at the U.S.-led GHF, right? Let's turn that volume on. So, what do you expect? You bring them in, put them in a tight little crowded area, and then start shooting at them. Well, you just want to terrorize them? It's disgusting. And by the way, Mutassim did say to us in the interview we did with him recently, because I asked him, what is this armed faction that Israelis have armed? He said, these are all prisoners, former prisoners, the worst of our community that have been armed. And he said, and they even use them to shoot at us while we're trying to get food so that they can say that it is Palestinians shooting at Palestinians or Hamas is shooting at Palestinians. He said, no, it's the very people they have armed. It's just really frustrating. Let's go into the issues here with Russia. Oh, wait a minute. There's one other thing, too. This was another thing I thought was interesting. Before we get into this issue about Russia almost ready to go to war, listen to this guy right here. Amazing, interesting post here. Revolutionary blackout. I like what he has to say. Listen in.
Regarding the Ukraine war tomorrow. Spoiler alert, he's sending more weapons. Remember when Donald Trump said he was going to end the Ukraine war in 24 hours?
We could end the Ukraine conflict in 24 hours, in 24 hours.
In 24 hours. In one day, 24 hours.
In 24 hours.
In 24 hours.
In 24 hours.
I can do it in 24 hours.
Now the narrative of the ruling class is that Donald Trump is fed up with Vladimir Putin, and now he's willing to take the fight to Russia.
We get a lot of bullshit thrown at us by Putin, for you want to know the truth.
I'm not happy with what Putin's doing. I was very disappointed with my call with President Putin.
I am very disappointed with President Putin. We're not happy with Putin. I'm not happy with Putin.
Notice how in order to continue this war, Donald Trump is playing dumb and acting like he doesn't understand the Russian demands to end this war, because Donald Trump was allowed to win so he can continue the Ukraine war and sell the war to his resistant MAGA base. Now Trump can turn to MAGA and claim that he tried to negotiate with Putin, but Putin simply was being too unreasonable.
Right on. I do get that, and that is very good there. I appreciate this young man here. Revolutionary blackout. I think there we go right there. Progressive martial artist is what it says here. Now, I hadn't heard of him before, just happened to run across that video, and I thought I'd share that with you, mainly because what we have here, Dmitry Trenin, World War III has already begun. He is a research professor at the Higher School of Economics and a lead researcher fellow at the Institute of World Economy, International Relations. He's also a member of the Russian International Affairs Council. Many, according to the RT report here, now speak of humanity's drift towards World War III, imaginary events similar to those of the 20th century, but war evolves. It will not begin with June 1941 Barbarossa-style invasion of Cuban Missile Crisis-style nuclear standoff. In fact, the New World War is already underway. It's just that not everyone has recognized it yet. For Russia, the pre-war period ended in 2014. For China, it was 2017. For Iran, it was 2023. Since then, war in its modern diffuse form has intensified. This is not a new Cold War since 2022. The West's campaign against Russia has grown more decisive. The risk of direct nuclear confrontation with NATO over the Ukraine conflict is rising. Donald Trump's return to the White House created a temporary window in which such a clash could be avoided, but by mid-2025, hawks on the U.S., Western Europe had pushed up dangerously close again. And that's exactly where it's headed. We are headed down a very dark path. Why? Because, again, this is the puppet strings of Israel, as the Israel elite are deciding that the children of Esau, the Edomites, the Christians of America, you got to pay for the crimes that were done to some alleged Israeli people a long time ago. Okay, that's the way we got to put it, right? Because it's definitely not this Khazarian mafia that's running the country of Israel. In fact, the true Israelites that they're dividing the land over right now live in the West Bank and they live in Gaza. These are the people that lived in unwalled villages that were not being bothered at all until this Khazarian mafia decided to move into the modern state of what they call Israel today, and then took on the name and assumed the name. As Jesus said, there'd be those guys that say they're Jews and they're really not Jews. Yeah, you got it. You got it. Now you're starting to get the picture. Yeah, believe it or not, and many Palestinians do know this. They don't say anything because many of them, well, some of them became Christians. God bless them. But some of them also became converted Arabs. Not really by choice, but because of the Ottoman Empire. Many of the house of Israel, people keep saying, oh, the house of Israel's got to come home. The house of Israel's got to come home. And yet Jesus kept saying, I am sent only into the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Why then does the house of Israel have to come home if he was sent only into the lost sheep of the house of Israel? Doesn't seem to make sense, does it? Not to mention, according to the book of Acts, Peter stands up, be it known unto you, O house of Israel. This is that same Jesus whom you crucified, who's made both Lord and Christ, right? I guess we forgot about that. Gosh, maybe we're missing something. Maybe something is off in this whole case there. Who really are the indigenous people of the land? Check the DNA facts. You'll find out it's definitely not the Khazarian Mafia or the Khazarian Knesset, either one. Quite frankly, neither one. Let's listen in real quick here. This is Alex Jones's program. As the West dies, Israel's future lies with rising Asia. You know, this is interesting. Thank you, Charles, for sending this to me. Again, Charles Hodge on Twitter. You definitely want to check out and join up with him there. You can also join us, Israeli News Live. Yana, my wife as well, Yana Satova, Israeli or at INL. I'll put her link in the description for you below as well as Charles. But I have said to you for years, through my own sources there, that China would become the next world superpower. Now Info World Wars is saying it as well. Listen in.
Mm-hmm. Now, isn't this a strange headline from IsraelNationNews.com? As the West dies, Israel's future lies with rising Asia. Wow. The 77-year history of Israel's diplomatic alliances with the West appears to be ending. And increasingly, we see that we have disturbingly little in common with the dying West. So now they're going to try to be a parasite on Asia. Isn't that amazing? So the West was thriving until World War II, supposedly wins World War II, and then Israel becomes a leech on the West, sucks it dry, kills it, and says, oh, we've destroyed our host. It's time to find a new one. Isn't that amazing?
Now, anybody that knows the people at InfoWars, share with them. Find the video. I don't even know where it's at now. I've done many videos on this, including, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I do it in the Silk Road Initiative videos or the Neom City videos. I think it's in the Neom video as well, where I talk about China would be the next world superpower. I go into how that all the American big Jewish companies moved all their interests to China. So all your jobs went overseas. They were preparing China to be the next world superpower. And now Israel National News, and I haven't even looked it up to see that. I didn't know that's where I wasn't even thinking that he was quoting Israel National News or Arutz Shiva as they're called. But let me just see if that article is near the top here. I don't know where he got it from. I'll have to look it up later, though. But that is very interesting that he brought that out. All right, listen, real quick, in closing, IsraeliNewsLive.org, our website, Satan enthroning in the human mind. I guess many of you probably have seen that video by now. We're also doing regular articles on Israeli News Live. Be doing another one sometime here in the next day or so. Patreon, though, like I said, Why the Vatican is a Telescope on Mount Graham. Definitely check that out. Don't forget about Brighteon, Mike Adams there. in this amazing interview here. The name of it, let's see here. I know there's a name of it. It's not what I'm seeing here, but anyway, Dr. Teresa Mahaaffey and pharmacist Dr. Liz Thompson share shocking new revelations. That's the title about medical homicide involving health freedom influencer Carrie Madej. Definitely check that video out there as well. I want to mention real quick, though, something about Lifewave. Yana was interviewing just the other day, and let me pull that interview up there with you. Dr. Allison Ashley. And Dr. Ashley is not, she was actually in Lifewave before we were, but Dr. Ashley shared, one second, let me get the right one here.
And we say,
and she shared with my wife, I happened to come in the room right about the time she shared this and everything, and she was talking about she had broke her back. She had a fracture in her spine. They wanted to do surgery from the back and from the front. And she said, no way. No way. She refused to do the surgery. And she instead put on her X39 patches on there. And I forget how many months later, it's quite a few months, so kind of like myself, 8 months to a year, something like that. She said, and now all the pain left me. I have no problems and no broke back any longer. I was absolutely amazed at her testimony. So with that being said, let me just remind you though, definitely check out Lifewave. You can go to our website, lifewave.com/Bennun, Bennun, or if you go to our website, there's a link right here for Lifewave. Click on it there. Become a preferred customer. If you want to be a brand partner, you can email us at Bennun, Bennun, x39@gmail.com. Love to have you send us an email. We'll help you if you want to be a brand partner, or even if you need help as far as a preferred customer. Gladly do what we can to help you. Just send us an email there. And if you're trying to reach us too regarding the case about the doctors and what they have done to our family, you can also email us at Stephen at IsraeliNewsLive.org. And I'll put my email in the description for you there to be able to do that with. Keep in mind, though, I get a massive amount of email, far too much for me to ever go through. So if you've emailed me in the past, you say, Steve, you didn't answer me. If I literally took the time to answer every email, I'd never do a video. It's that hard to go through it all. But put in there for me homicide case. Maybe that would be a good description there. And that way I can look for that to try to find that. Or if you put, I don't want to put Carrie's name in there, but just homicide case or Yana's father, something like that. And then I'll know to look for it. God bless you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part. Don't forget an EMP Shield as well. They may still be running their special. Let's click on that to see real quick. INL 50. If you go to our website, you automatically get to see and how to do it, the coupon code that you need. And they're still doing their 4th of July sale. So I would encourage you to get one, especially with the way things are headed. If you watch that video on Patreon, you may want to get an EMP Shield regardless. I think it's that serious. I'm Stephen Bennun. You're watching Israeli News Live. God bless you.